Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show. I believe that's Pointer Sisters, if I'm not mistaken, who I always loved every one of their songs.
Everyone?
Yeah. Little dated. Everyone. You've never heard me say that.
Sing along. Let's see.
Karaoke here on the Gary Sutton Show on a Wednesday morning. Yeah, we're rocking. Yeah, we're rocking. It's this is one of those songs you can't sit and your body just sits still. It doesn't work like that. You can see Vallie here if you're watching the podcast later on this afternoon. She's rocking. And Vallie Etienne, a 29-year-old, she's a social. Give me a title. It's social media.
So I am a production manager.
Yeah, don't say social media. You're going to get slapped, right? I mean, like,
a production manager and an on-air host.
An on-air host. There you go. And she's on podcasts, and she knows. She's forgotten more about podcasts than I will ever know. And in fact, she's given me a little bit later on today. She's given me a little bit of a tutorial on some things on podcasts and how to get them up. And that brings me to the point here in this segment. You're of a different era than I am. Several different eras than what. A lot of different eras than what I am. But, at the same time, you're very inquisitive. That's one of the things that I'm doing in the business that we're in. Listening, learning something new is really important. But one of the things that I think a lot of people who are listening to this show today, who listen during a certain time and don't wait for a podcast later on, they say, podcast. Oh, and there's like this mental block that goes up. And I don't want to learn. That's something new as we get older. Sometimes the word itself is maybe a little bit harsher than actually the easiness of learning something new. Tell people about that a bit.
So a podcast is essentially just an episodic audio story, right? Of whatever your interest is. And I was very reluctant to join the podcast world from radio. Right. I did not want to learn something new at the ripe age of 19. I was already over it. But I feel like the best part about podcasts is they're on your own time. You can make sure that you don't miss any information that you're looking for any reason. A lot of times they're transcribed. And a lot of times the hardest part about a podcast really is just finding out what app would make it easiest for you to listen to on it. Like, it's a lot less daunting than it seems.
So you hear a lot of app now, and we're up on YouTube, but I'm also going to learn how to do it on like Spotify. What are some of the other places you can find your Amazon? You can even find it on, right?
Yes, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Listener Notes, like you said, Amazon. There's 36 hosts, SoundCloud. There's 36 webs or apps right now in the US that are either podcast specific or podcast heavy. And Spotify right now is randomly got to number 1, but imagine how many apps have to be under that for that to have happened. Like, you can listen to them pretty much anywhere.
And again, you live in a world today where apps are something that we do, and we all have app stores, and we know something about that, but not everybody does. And it's kind of like TV. I remember there were 3 channels, ABC, NBC, CBS, and when the president was on, I got wiped out. I couldn't watch Zorro that night. But the point is, same thing here really for your listening habits, where there are a lot of things now beyond just terrestrial radio that are kind of interesting to get to. And I think finding the places is the biggest problem. What would you tell people out there in terms of finding a place to listen to your podcast?
I would suggest checking where you already stream any of your music or audio, because they've made it so accessible now. It's on Audible. Spotify is my personal favorite to listen to, because I already use Spotify every day, so I use it for everything. If you have an iPhone, luckily you have Apple Podcasts on your phone already. Right. So a lot of times it's automatically on there. It's really just about finding the story that is important enough to you to keep up with, and that'll make it worth it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because a lot of people get scared off by the terminology and by some of the things that are new to them. And all of us, as we get older, we want to feel comfortable, but, kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, listening to some of these places, going to some of these places, I think are really, really important. How do you calm people down? You talk to your parents. You say, well, here's how you do this. This is how you go to it. And don't worry about it. Don't get scared. Just step by step. What would you say to them?
I tell them to eat the elephant one bite at a time. The reason you are overwhelmed is because it is something you have never seen before. I would be overwhelmed too. Start with your favorite listening app and then branch out. Don't add anything new to your news consumption or media consumption repertoire, for that will overwhelm anybody. Start with what you're already using and go from there. Okay,
now I got to hear this. This is like a mirror on the wall question. Mark will laugh at this, but you listen to talk radio.
Yes.
So what do you like about talk radio obviously this show. I mean, who wouldn't like it? But no, I'm kidding. But what do you like about talk radio? What is it about talk radio that kind of catches your interest? Because a lot of younger people, maybe that's not where they go, but we're trying to get more and more people in that direction.
I personally love the authenticity with radio. Whenever I work a job, I always end up coming back to radio. I love the grittiness. I love how raw it is. It feels like how I used to consume news when I was a kid or when I was younger. Like, I understand there's a place for podcasts in the art world and it's important, but that's not how I like to get my news, essentially.
Mark and I have never heard grittiness and raw describing our show. But Mark, something new there for us, right?
Oh, it looks raw.
It can be raw, yeah. This studio, I mean, is a spacious, glamorous studio. If you think that radio is glamorous sometimes, you need to be in our studio. But we love it. We love it. I mean, right, Vallie?
I love it. I'm having a blast.
Well, there you go. Well, Vallie, we appreciate you being with us. We're going to tap on you from time to time here on your views on some of the things that are going on and get the take, because we need that take as well, all here on the Gary Sutton Show. And speaking of which, tomorrow we got Chris Markowski, the Watchdog on Wall Street at 6:35. You want to talk about grittiness and raw? There's a pretty good chance he'll quote The Godfather tomorrow at some point in time during his time with us. Aaron Anderson tomorrow will be with us as well. He likes to get into some of the issues around York. He'll be with us at 7:05. 7:35, Gracia Etienne tomorrow, as we tell you about something new with mental health. And he's going to be a regular advertiser here, but he's going to tell you a little bit about that. Tom Almanza at 8:05 on small business and also taking a religious look at some things. And Joel Sears on school choice at 8:35 tomorrow, all here on the Gary Sutton Show. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Check out our YouTube WOYK channel later on for podcasts, and have a great day.